So we also looked at the selected relevant terms. We established the fact that we had several definitions of logistics, and I was able to give you one of them. That is the concept of off, and off. And the first off is before the off, and the before the off is the process. Then when you hear the process, you ask process of what? Then the issue of planning and execution comes in. There are some authorities that we say it is implementation and coordination. Whichever school of thought you belong, it's fine, it's cool, it's fine. So that is for the process. The process is concerning the planning and the execution of movement and storage of goods, products, and resources from one place to another. So if you plan a process, and if you plan and you execute the movement from the point of that, from that raw material point to the points of the persons who need the service, either who need maybe the goods, the service, or the information. So what you have done there is logistics. Is that process? It is a process, and that is why it is different from transportation and mobility. Now, we dealt extensively with the bill of lading, and we agreed last week that it entails the contract between the carrier, the shipper, and the carrier. It is better that the shipper comes first before the carrier. Then we said there is what we call bill to party, that the carrier could take the financial implication off his neck through the bill, the party, as one of those relevant terms. Then we also discussed cargo as goods or product being transported by different modes of transport. Then we established carrier to be person or an organization that transports goods or passenger. Then in transit, we established in transit as a package that is being transported. That it is still on, when someone calls you and you say, please, I'm on transit, the same thing is applicable to in transit as it concerns logistics. So it is all about a particular item that is still within the cordon of origin and destination. It has left its origin, but it has not gotten to its destination. That's another way to see in transit. Then, if I may ask, is there a difference between a cargo and in transit? Can somebody quickly attempt that just for 30 seconds? Is there a difference between a cargo and in transit?
So I would say in transit is actually a process, while a cargo refers to a particular item in transit.
Yes, yes. Very good and very apt. Yes, in transit can stand as a process. Then the cargo is that item. Thank you so much. So let's quickly look at inbound logistics. Inbound logistics in this respect is talking about the process that is very close to the supply chain, and that is why it is the logistics that is receiving and storing. So it is the process that is having a direct link with the supply chain, and that is why you cannot separate logistics and supply chain. It is just that logistics is more popular in this part of the world than supply chain. So inbound logistics is also a process, and that process, just like logistics is a process, and that process is emphasizing on the act of receiving, storing, and distributing incoming goods. So the incoming goods could be in form of raw materials. So those ones that are more of internal activities of the logistics system, they could be referred to as the inbound logistics, but that doesn't stop it from being a process. It is still a process. Then the question is, what kind of process? It is not the process of planning and implementing the efficient movement of goods from the raw material point to the last end customer. No, this one is emphasizing on the process of receiving, storing, and distributing incoming goods. So you have to receive. And most times when you receive in inbound logistics, it is more of raw materials. Then you store them. Then after the storage, then it could pass through some processes before the distribution. Then immediately leaves the distribution, it translates into the outbound more often than not. By the time it gets to the transportation point, it transcends into the outbound logistics. So intermodal transportation, it is all about the use of more than one mode of transport. Then invoice, we talked about invoice last week. Then we said there is a difference between an invoice and a receipt. And we said what we need is actually a receipt, that we don't need an invoice. But we need an invoice. That doesn't suggest that we don't need an invoice. We need an invoice if you want to be paid. If after you make your quotations and you have reached an agreement, you send an invoice to the company, they process it. If you are a consultant, for example, there is a way the invoice works. After your negotiation, you send your invoice for payment, and once they pay you, you issue receipt to them. The same thing is applicable to when you want to buy product. You can go to them and get invoice. At that point, it is not expected that you are getting it, except if you have a separate agreement, because you don't have an evidence that you are paid for the goods. Until you pay for those products, those goods, those items, that is when you can ask for receipts. But there could be an internal arrangement that will allow you to go ahead with that. Then we also discussed aggregate shipments. And we said the aggregate shipments, it combines multiple individual orders. It's like getting, you are ordering from Alibaba. I use Alibaba as an example. Online purchase through Alibaba. Most times, Alibaba is like the middleman. You pay to them. There is a period the money will stay with them before, when they confirm that the product had been received, then they pay to the seller of that product. So, for example, you can be buying like 5 different items: slippers, umbrella, bags. So by the time you take statistics of everything, then you package them together. So it comes into a single unit for transportation. So it becomes aggregate shipment at that point. Then B2 party, as earlier explained, that it is the party that pays for that service. So a carrier can give you a B2 party for you to bear the financial implication as the buyer of that product. Then FIFO is all about, we said it is more applicable to perishable goods, that when you have them in goods with expiry dates, when you have them in, the ones that come in first, they should be the ones that they go out first. It is one of the concepts of managing product, especially as it concerns warehousing.